How's it going, everyone? This is Jamie here with FLA Tutoring. Today we're just going to do a brief introduction to absolute value. So what absolute value is it's taking a number or a set of numbers that are being operated on, and the final result will become positive. And so what that will look like is two lines that are vertical. And inside of those two lines, we're going to say that anything that goes inside will become positive. So this will eventually turn whatever is inside of there into a positive value. So whatever that comes out will become positive. So let's take a look at a couple examples just to make this more concrete. If, for example, we had here the absolute value of just a -3, so this is just one number on its own, what will happen is that -3 will become +3 because the absolute value changes it into a positive. Now this is about as simple as it gets as far as changes that can occur. There's only one value here, the -3, so there's only one thing to do, and that's to change it to positive. If you have something that is more complicated where you might have more steps to operate on, then it will be a little bit different. So let's take a look here at another example here. Let's look at this as example, we'll call it example 2. So what if, for example, we had 10 minus 12, and we have this in an absolute value. If we have 10 minus 12, what we have to do is we have to first operate to simplify. So we're going to operate to simplify. And so what that will become here is 10 minus 12 will be subtracted, and we'll get -2. And now we're at this final stage where we don't have any more operations to do. We can then take the absolute value, and that will become +2. So again, once we get down to whatever is simplified after the operations are complete, we're going to then take it and turn it positive. So let's do just one more example here, so that way you have a good sense about what you can expect with the basics of absolute value. In this, we'll call this example number 3. I'm going to do an operation here inside of the parentheses. If, for example, we had 5, and I'll use a little dot here for our times -2 plus 2, we would perform the operations inside here first, and then we would eventually use the absolute value to make the answer positive. So we're going to go use our PEMDAS from left to right. We have 5 times -2, which gives us -10. And then we're going to bring this on down, so -10 plus 2. And bear in mind here, we're going to be keeping the absolute value as we go along. So again, we haven't gotten rid of the absolute value yet because we still have to finish all the operations before we can turn it positive. So now I have -10 plus 2. -10 going in the direction of positive 2 places is -8. And now you'll probably start to see here that we're going to be at the final stage. So now we have the absolute value in -8, and there's only one thing that is left to do. And now that we have just our -8 inside, we can take that and turn it positive, and it will become +8. And what that's really telling us is how far something is from 0 on the number line. So taking a look here on the number line, which is why I had it up, if we see here that there is a 0 spot, I could have the value 8 on this side, so I'm just going to circle 8, and I could have the value of -8 on the other side. And notice if I take the absolute value of -8, and I take the absolute value of +8, and I'll just put a positive here just so that you're reminded of the fact that it's +8, they're both going to become +8 in an absolute value. And what that's really telling us is that we have a distance of 8 spots for each side to 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 units, or 8 spots. And from here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, 8 units, or 8 spots. So you can see here the absolute value is showing us the distance from whatever value we end up with to 0. And where that might be used, that is the absolute value, could be when you're trying to think of lengths for a shape. For example, if we had a triangle and it was in some coordinate plane, we want to work with positive whole numbers to deal with length. Typically, when we're especially at this level of math, which is about the 6th grade level, you're going to be needing to use your whole numbers here in your operations, and you're going to be dealing with positives as you're doing measurements. So absolute value is often used to make sure that your answer is positive, especially if you're working with a coordinate plane. And sometimes later on in statistics, which you might have, especially if you're in a 6th grade advanced math class, you would have things like mean absolute deviation, MAD. Again, that's mean absolute deviation. And I'm not going to get into that today, but it's giving you a preview of what is to come. So mean absolute deviation, lengths here, we're dealing with positive lengths. That's where absolute value might start to come in and be applied later on in your math studies. So I hope this was a helpful video to get you to think about what absolute value does, and we'll do more in the future talking about more unique instances of absolute values. Take care, everyone.